we go. And there's our faces. Greetings, guys, gals, and non binary pals. Welcome to Viral Transmissions, episode number 30, which we are entitling. Which 30? Which we are entitling Death of Empires for, no reason whatsoever. I'm Joe Foljam. Joining me as usual is Dr. Rob Tarswell. Our guest this week for the third time is Dr. Simon Pratt. Welcome, Simon, to the show again. Viral Transmissions is supported in part by the BC Humanist Association. You can learn more about them at bchumanist.ca. My subtitle for this show probably would have been Tornado of Bullshit, but because this week has just... This week...
That's our default subtitle if we're ever really stuck.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll put that in the doc template for our show notes. Default title.
Yeah.
Tornado of Bullshit.
Tornado of Bullshit.
So we start each show with a by the numbers. It's still not good. World
still going up.
Yeah, the world
Not
total
going down.
cases, 37.7 million cases. That is up 2.6 million cases from last week. 1.08 million deaths. That's another 40,000 deaths in the world from COVID-19 this last week. USA is up to 7.9 million cases. That is about a third of a million more than last week. And 220,000 deaths. That's 6,000 more deaths. Canada is at 182,000 deaths. That's 182,000 cases, not deaths. That is 16,000 more cases than last week. That's not good. And we are at 9,613 deaths. That is an increase of 272 people, which it's not good.
Canada is looking maybe to take a bit of a serious bump here.
Yeah. The next thing I have is the Ontario graph, which, because we're talking numbers. Yeah, let me show this one here. Let me get my controls up. One sec. There we go. Screen share. That one. There we go. Okay. So I'm just going to pop this up nice and big. There we go.
Yeah.
And I think we should be... I might have to resize this. Hold on. Live TV. So the scary thing about this one, we were over top of the chat there. The scary thing about this one is actually, so this is COVID-19 in Ontario, Canada, new daily cases, deaths, and resolved. With, here's wave number 1 back in April, late April, early May. And then here's the warned second wave in the fall. But what scares me about this is the second graph. That and this might be again, I'm not an expert on this kind of thing, so this might be normal the way that it works, but I'll try to mention what that is that this is the number of cases and how much they know about those cases. So we've got close contact and outbreak, epilink type unspecified being this blue here, but the worrisome is the green. And this kind of, I don't know what we call it, tan or orange. I'm not sure what we call it. But anyway, these two colors right here, no known epilink and no information combined, are half of this recent clump, this recent increase here. Yep. Which again, I admit might be an artifact of, hey, it's new. They haven't traced them. So of course we don't know yet. But it's still scary that there is basically this big outbreak going on in Ontario. And on top of it, we don't know what from exactly.
That orange and the orange plus green bars are getting larger time.
Right.
That indicates that they're basically sort of part of the contact tracing situation is getting away from them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there's been some talk about, I think it was in Toronto where this has happened in particular, is kind of some talk of like flying the white flag essentially in terms of contact tracing, which I think is just like, what? I mean, I'm not on the ground there, obviously. I don't know what's going on. Oh, my mic's quiet. Can you guys hear me?
You're a little quiet. Hold on. Let me bring you up a bit. Give me some more voice, Rob.
Sure. So the thought there is that, hey, we can't keep on top of it. Let her rip. Which of course is not great. So for instance, by contrast, in BC, they're currently actively recruiting 600 new contact tracers. So Ontario, I'm looking at you. Don't let me down.
Yeah.
You can do this. You got this. Ontario, you got this.
Yeah.
Do the right thing. Get an army of contact tracers on top of this.
Has anyone noticed a certain pattern in right populist governments where they eventually realize that contact tracing is really hard, and so their response is like, well, fuck it, let's give up. Because like this seems to be an emerging pattern, and
It's a
sort of
thing.
like, I'm not entirely sure what to make of it in terms of like associating it with particular political orientations, but it is remarkable.
It
Hmm.
feels like
Interesting.
it's related to just the belief that government shouldn't be doing stuff. Like so many of these right wing North Americans anyway believe government should get out of the way, that corporations should take over, that government just ruins everything, and that feels like it almost fits with right wing politicians who go, "We this isn't our job. We shouldn't take care of this," and it's also a convenient out at the same time, so they can just go, government can't fix this, especially if we're the ones doing it. But they're wrong. Other governments do.
Quiet. Simon's mic's quiet. So,
Okay.
um, yeah, possibly. But the interesting thing about, say, like Ford is he's populist, right? So his policies kind of swing like a weather vane.
Okay.
And early on in April, he was doing all sorts of things that you would think, oh, gee, this is almost kind of leftish, or at least centrist.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I think he just kind of swings whatever way he thinks is going to be popular with his base
Yeah.
and continue to get him reelected.
I think that I think this is less about small government and more about the inability to grapple with institutional dysfunction.
Mm.
So when it's clear that your institutions are not working, the kind of the populist response is like just stop doing it and like move on,
Mm.
so that you can sustain this kind of relentless narrative of I mean, so I think it has to do with the ability to sort of take responsibility for institutions and actually reform them in a progressive way. By progressive, I just mean like making them kind of better at doing whatever they're supposed to do, versus abandoning any initiative that doesn't immediately seem fruitful, because you have to have a kind of nonstop momentum, displaying power and efficacy.
Mm-hmm.
So because you have to sustain that momentum, ironically you don't actually have time to build power and efficacy. All you can do is try to project it and perform it and ride on whatever charging animal you could happen to hop onto, but then get off as it stops.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but I'm not necessarily confident in that assessment. It's just that's kind of my read on what's happening, and it happens. God, the lighting down from above makes me look just terrifying. I realize. I should get my studio lights before I do my online teaching later. Anyway, so I'll talk a little bit more about the complete failure of the UK's test and trace program, and the apparent decision on campuses just to like test and trace nobody and notify nobody if they've been in contact, a little later on. I don't mean to hijack the order of events here,
Yeah.
but that's
Yeah.
something that I've been
I don't
so
mind jumping
relentlessly
around. Yeah. Yeah.
furious about. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind jumping around, but it's good that let's get through the numbers. We have to introduce a Trump number now, and the Trump contact positive number is up to 38 right now. We'll give that. I'll put that link in again. Here's the link of the
I think it's starting
volunteer
to see
tracking.
secondary outbreaks, right? So there was the first outbreak at the Rose Garden event 2 Saturdays ago. And then there was the second outbreak, which was at the debate in Ohio.
Right.
And now, possibly evidence of secondary outbreaks, maybe related to Supreme Court nominee Amy Coney Barrett and her kids, and attending lots of maskless events and going back to school. We're waiting to hear definitively on that one.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's pretty impressive. An outbreak of that size at the highest level of the most powerful government on the planet, and we have no idea what the network of contacts looks like. It's all been inferred from public sources of information by reporters. Which, in case you're a first-time viewer, that's not how we do contact tracing. So we're up to 38 minimum who knows what the real number is?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely astonishing. But that minimum number is very, very large. 38 counts as a large outbreak. That's an outbreak that's larger than many sovereign states currently, like Vietnam, Taiwan, to example readily.
Yeah.
Hong Kong and others.
Yeah. The U.S. itself is up to 57,000 new cases a day, which is it peaking
We
again.
haven't seen since August. Yeah. So it's hard to tell what the second wave in America looks like because it's just been this high plateau.
And yeah, I'll get the image up of the hospitalizations as well. Hospitalizations are up. This is not complete, sadly. There we go. That should do it. Good. So you can see South Dakota, North Dakota up 3%, 19%. Kentucky's up. This is hospitalizations per million to 22.4. It's a 274% increase. Montana's up 157%. Colorado is up 104%. They're only down at 6.3 per million, but like the bigger that these numbers happen and the worse that this gets, then the worse it keeps getting. Like it's brutal. These are all in the red. These are all going up except for Hawaii, Mississippi, Washington, Massachusetts, slightly down, Maine, and New Hampshire.
Right. This is what second waves look like when they're starting.
Yeah, it's bad.
And this is going to be a brutal shit show by American Election Day, November 2nd or 3rd. I don't know. Someone in the American chat will reliably correct me shortly. First Tuesday in November. That's all I know. I think that's what the holy texts prescribe that.
Move on to news. Should we get into there so we can get to things that Simon can talk about?
Well, and there's some relevance here because we noticed as we were putting the stories together that just about every piece of news is directly Trumpocentric.
Yeah.
Now that's on the one hand not saying much because Trump just spins like a dirty tornado and he flings off many stories, but somehow the dirty tornado is every story this week in a way. He's kind of removed 1 degree of separation from himself and the news, and it's kind of like he's in every single one of our living rooms constantly.
Yeah, I hate
pissing
it.
Punch bowl.
Yeah. Stop.
Yeah.
Stop.
So why don't you kind of take us through some of the highlights here?
Well, so I want to lead off with the advice that I like first. Redfield, who is the current CDC chief, urged to leave CDC in a blaze of glory or forever be Trump's toady. That's the title of this article on Ars Technica.
Yeah.
I'll put the link right up here because we won't get into this too heavily. The person urging him to basically stand up to Trump and do things right and get fired is the former director of the CDC. So, yeah, I like that. I like the idea of standing strong. I get that it's probably difficult.
Something. Yeah.
It's easy for me. I got nothing to lose. I don't know what he's got to lose. I don't know.
Well, yeah, if there's anything he hasn't lost yet, it's time.
All I think of, and we talked about this when we were going over the show notes, is history has its eyes on you from Hamilton. That like the things that you do now, they're going to talk about in the history books. And don't you want that to be good and heroic and rational and compassionate? Isn't that what you want? Instead of, oh, and here's another guy who knuckled down to the bully in the White House who's killing everybody.
Escaping history now. There's no escaping it. You can maybe put a little bit of a positive complexion on your way out.
Yeah.
You've got 3 weeks and a lame duck to get it done.
Yeah. God, please. Let's see what else we got. Donald Trump accused Gold Star families of potentially being what infected him with COVID-19.
Fascinating, right?
And I'll admit,
So
let me admit my mistake on this so that you can lead into
okay.
it. When I read this,
Oh, sure.
my first thought was, because again try to be open minded about this stuff. You try to go, well, okay, let me look at the other side, and I thought, well, I don't know, maybe they were they somebody he met because he said they got real close to me. Rob, that turns out is total bullshit. Please explain why.
Yeah, yeah. That turns out to be disinformation, which we distinguish from misinformation, because misinformation may not be a conscious attempt to deceive, but disinformation is a conscious effort to deceive. And the Rose Garden event was on Saturday, I believe, the 26th of September. I might be wrong about that, but the next day, the Sunday, was the Gold Star family event. And it was later in that week that positives started popping up from the from the White House Rose Garden event, where they were trotting out the Supreme Court nominee from individuals who had no connection with the Gold Star families, but did have connections with Trump. So what seems to be far more likely the case is that Trump had either already been exposed or was exposing the Gold Star families at that Sunday meeting. Unless there's some extremely vengeful, time-traveling Gold Star family who managed to go back earlier in the week and infect everyone.
Right. So so the timeline is no good. That it was way too late.
Timeline's no good.
Yeah.
Unless these infections traveled on tachyons. If I've learned anything from Star Trek, those are the particles that need to do with time travel.
Yeah. In addition to that, Trump, of course, asked the doctors treating him to sign NDAs. Do you want to just talk about that?
Yeah. So if you remember all those people standing behind Sean Conley in the daily briefings, Conley was the guy up there in the jacket and the suit and the tie, giving the daily bullshit briefing. Everyone in that group had to sign a non-disclosure agreement to treat Trump. There were 2 physicians at Walter Reed Medical Center who refused, and they were taken off Trump's team and weren't allowed to consultation with him. So, I mean, it doesn't. I guess you just don't have to wander that far in a country of 330 million people to find 2 sycophantic physicians to replace the ones who stood up and whose names are not known to us, but may they become known to us. That's
future. Someday there will be a movie about them. All leading down to
their movie won't be very interesting. Yeah.
It'll be great. We'll find out that they'll get married later on, and it'll be wonderful. Okay, next up, in addition to NDAs, we've also got just straight up disinformation and being open about it. Susan Matthews tweets, "The doctor who is about to examine Trump virtually on Fox News once wrote a piece for Slate for me about how the public never really knows anything about a president's health." And that's true.
That's a tight curve of irony wrapping in on itself. Like they don't get that tight very often. That's just gorgeous. Indeed, Friday night I watched this in slack-jawed awe. The 9th, so 2 nights ago, the President of the United States was indeed at the White House being interviewed by a Fox News talking head physician. And it was nothing like any medical interview I've ever seen or participated in. It was basically 15 minutes of glad-handed cheerleading for the president. I was just watching to kind of get a look at Trump's mental status to see whether he had kind of settled from what was looking like a budding steroid mania. Last week, as we talked about a little bit, he was like ordering pizza for his fans every 45 minutes while they were camped outside of the hospital, and he insisted on taking a ride with them and was doing the chair dance as he was driving down the street. And then those wild high energy speeches that he was giving within 24 hours of being admitted and having been like oxygen dependent. And suddenly he hears Mr. Energy. So the height of all that somehow it occurred and it crested during the week, because by Friday he basically looked like baseline Trump, which admittedly it's a pretty choppy, chaotic baseline, but I think he was back on it. I didn't see anything that particularly stood out to me. What stood out to me more was the abysmal behavior of the physician. I'll give him credit for exactly one thing. he asked the president about any lab findings, and that was when Trump admitted that his CT scan of his chest showed some congestion. And what that probably means is that they found what are called ground glass opacities, which means that there is basically inflammatory junk within the small airways. So Trump probably did have a degree of airway involvement or viral pneumonia with his coronavirus.
Sure. And then
And he also admitted that his main symptom was feeling not so great.
Okay.
Blistering, laser tight medical interview. Feeling not so great and congestion on the CT scan.
Yeah.
I mean, there's an assumption here that when Trump says congestion on the CT scan, that actually means anything. I don't actually trust anything he says, so that could mean anything from ground glass opacities to he confuses CT scan for an X-ray, or like his sinuses are blocked. I actually am skeptical that this means anything.
That could, so the worst case scenario would be ground glass opacity. So that's where I'm kind of drifting. But yeah, honestly, it really is a who knows. And so we ought to be taking a jaundiced eye to the clinical and medical value that medical fact offered putatively. Nowu asks, if he's off dexamethasone now, did he go through a crash when the high wore off?
Oh yeah.
No, not likely, because if he was only on dexamethasone for less than a week, pretty unlikely that he would have started to develop some physical dependence on the dexamethasone. That would generally take a bit long. Definitely longer than it seems like 4 or 5 days. He was on even up to a week. We don't typically tend to, especially on the doses that are typically being used to treat coronavirus. Now, if he'd been on high doses for 3 weeks, yes, then he would need to be kind of tapered off of slowly, so that because basically what the steroid tells your pituitary gland that your adrenal glands have gone crazy and they're producing all sorts of steroid hormones, and so your pituitary gland stops sending signals to your adrenal glands, which sit on top of your kidneys, to make steroids. So they just stop, and you gotta kind of wake them up again, because it's real bad to suddenly end up in a scenario where you aren't making hormones endogenously and you're not getting them exogenously. You can get very, very sick from that. Hormones, need them to live. They regulate metabolism and all sorts of other things.
So we got one more thing to talk about with I guess this is the tornado bullshit, the core of it anyway. There's like a Trump ad using Dr. Fauci's words praising Trump, and Fauci has said that's been taken out of context, and Trump then said they're Fauci's own words, we have done a phenomenal job. And you sent me this tweet of somebody just posting a image of a young 16-year-old boy who died of COVID. Or is dying of COVID. Oh, he did. Yeah, 16-year-old Andre Guest died of COVID-19.
Yeah. And now, no doubt, his family's going to be saddled with the $1 million bill for his ICU visit.
The Fauci quote was taken from, when was it taken? Did you say?
March.
March,
when it sort of looked like the Trump administration might be doing something about the virus, and it's kind of a Fauci-ish statement saying the administration is doing something about the coronavirus, and Trump and Fauci has just come straight out and said, in 5 decades of public service, I've never publicly endorsed any political candidate. So he's pissed about it. Fauci's a fascinating figure to me, because he's the only figure I'm aware of, the only public figure who's been pulled into the Trump gravity, been pulled by Trump's gravity, and somehow has escaped with his job and his dignity, because you don't get both.
Normally,
you get pulled into that orbit, and you either give up your dignity to keep your job, or you give up your job to keep your dignity. But Fauci just spun right back out and is taking no shit and is employed. I don't understand it.
Yeah, it's weird. Okay, one last. Let's do this title. I'm just going to mention all of these things together so that we can get to what we're actually going to talk about with Simon. One, Donald Trump Jr. held a packed indoor event, maskless, of course. Pence holds a masks optional rally at a retirement community. We have a tweet of Dr. Scott Atlas off to the side of one of these talks, not wearing a mask. So literally.
That was yesterday's White House event,
Jesus.
where Trump did an Evita Peron and was lecturing from the second floor balcony that he now seems to find quite pleasing. Very fascistically lecturing down to 500 bought and paid for supporters whose travel and lodgings were paid for by Candace Owens of Turning Point USA.
Yeah.
An absolute right-wing grifting organization.
We've also learned that Trump had the brainstorm idea to, when he was in the hospital, to wear a Superman t-shirt and then tear open his shirt to reveal it so that everybody would know he was strong.
Yeah, he was going to see his plan. His plan was to fake sick in front of the cameras, and then... So that's a pretty good piece of evidence that steroid Trump... there's a part of you that can go, maybe he would do that. But to me, that's crossed the line. That's over into steroid Trump. That's not just baseline chaos.
Yeah, but he didn't do it. Still,
I'm really sad he got talked out of that, because holy cow, I want to have seen that. I want to live in the world where that was the timeline that unfolded.
I'm glad his base didn't. Because they would have seen it very differently from the way you and I would have seen it.
Well, they're lost. They're gone. They're eating it up.
Yeah. Okay. And this leads to this Gallup information that I have, which, I have actually ready to just throw up on the screen, which I'm not sharing with all of you, actually. Sorry.
Throw it up, baby.
So it's up on the yeah, there we go. Let's put it over top of us. So this is one showing the difference between Democratic men, Democratic women, Republican men, and Republican women, and their worries about coronavirus. Talk to me about this, Rob, and Simon, please. Pretty sure this is where we're going, right?
Yep. So it's were you able to see it from?
Well, here, okay, I'll share it at you. Hold on, let me do that.
Okay.
It's easier to do that than it is.
I've got it pulled up here on my end.
Right. Share my screen. There we go.
But it's a number of questions from Gallup. Just click the watch stream there. See it.
There we
Basically, from worries about getting the coronavirus, concerns about exposure at work, practicing social distancing, avoiding the public, avoiding small gatherings, avoiding crowds, wearing masks indoors when you can't distance, wearing a mask in outdoor settings when you can't distance, ready to return to normal activities. And there are striking divergences by political lines. And some of these are huge. Like 77% of men are worried about getting the coronavirus.
Democratic.
20% of Republican. Sorry, yeah. 80% of Democratic women, and then 20% of Republican men only.
Mm-hmm.
So there's this striking difference. And then the other most striking one: are you ready to return to normal activities? 5% of Democratic men, yes. 3% women. Then the Republican men, 64% ready. Yeah, back to life as usual right now. 54% of Republican women. And so I thought, okay, this seems to be as about and meshed as this virus can get with stated political affiliation. And I just look at that and I'm just kind of like horrified, but fascinated, but not able to come to any kind of clear answers.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Professor Simon, can you help us out with this? How did this happen? What does this mean? How do we get here? And what, if anything, is the path out?
Those are some very good questions, Dr. Rob. Oh boy. So there are like a lot of ways that we can try to make sense of this. And I just want to highlight the two that really stand out to me. So one is, I think, a pretty obvious one, which is just that the right and the left, especially in the United States, exist in distinct informational ecosystems. And there are not really any sort of cross-party sources of authority that people can look to for a maybe not neutral but agreeable narrative of reality. So, put differently, like people are living in different epistemic bubbles, and the right-wing epistemic bubble is decreasingly aligned with any sort of data-driven or scientifically informed picture of risks and threats and harms. So the fact that there is such widespread denialism or dismissiveness of the harmfulness of the pandemic on the right is because dismissing these things is now the party line. It's part of the message of leadership, and it serves the interests of the executive and of Republican governments. So, and that is the only message that most people on the right are being exposed to. And so it's unsurprising that other interpretations of the world are not really available to them, or that they don't care to explore them. But the second way to talk about this, or the second thing that stands out to me here, is that the reason why dismissiveness or denialism is part of the right-wing narrative has a lot to do with a particular heavily gendered, gender is a big part of this, heavily gendered kind of narrative of power and invulnerability or vulnerability and place in the world. So, like, I've noticed all of these Trump surrogates, like, attacking Joe Biden for being supposedly effeminate for wearing a mask, and the idea that, like, there's something unmanful about wearing a mask. I think that tells us something pretty important here, which is that the kind of message of, like, often violent, domineering power that is central to Trumpism, it's a masculinist vision. This is a narrative of, like, men who are invulnerable to threats, or whose approach to a threat is to just dominate it, force it into submission, who are unconcerned by small risks and focused on combating personified enemies, right? So you can't really personify the virus. Maybe if you can personify it as China, and by God they try, right? Then you can sort of incorporate fighting the virus into this sort of ideology. But otherwise, if you can't make the virus into another human being from a foreign country or from a foreign political party to fight, then you can't really put precautions into the story. So, so I think that this explains a lot about Trump's performances of not caring or dismissing the dangers of the virus. So, hold on. What the fuck? Sorry, I'm getting weird pop-ups from Twitch. Okay, it's gone. Pardon my bad language. I'm really tired of technology these days because a gigantic unfolding disaster that is our department's shift to virtual, where we have no actual centralized guidance, and so it's everyone for themselves. Good times in the UK system. Anyway, what am I saying? Yeah, so I think understanding the kind of the right wing, I would even say somewhat fascistic, masculinist empowerment narrative that Trump tries to perform and display and propagate goes a long way to explaining why especially men, but also the right in general, doesn't care and wants to dismiss and minimize the risk. So I wouldn't look at there are two possible implications here. One possible implication is the more that the right dismisses, the more that the right dismisses the risk, the more the left will play it up, perhaps even become overcautious, because it becomes because everyone wants to perform in a partisan manner. They want to kind of display their allegiances. But actually, from what I can tell, based on those numbers, the left and center left has got a pretty good idea of what they should be doing. does not have an overactive or overcautious view of how to deal with the pandemic. They have a realistic one, and so there's sort of an asymmetry here. There's an asymmetry of partisan sort of partisan epistemology, right? The right is like often in space, and then there's the kind of the left and the center left, and the most striking comment on that is that absolute sociopath Mitch McConnell saying, "Oh no, I haven't gone to the White House. I don't think it's safe."
Yeah.
Right? Is that the right? Like the people on the right who are not beholden to the masculinist potency performances,
Right.
who are they're evil, but they're plugged into reality. They've got exactly the same view of what you have to do as the left and the center, right? Like but the other thing that's lurking underneath this, and this is where the UK, which isn't in the grip of the same sort of fascist revival, is that this is the institutional dysfunction that I mentioned earlier. Like, it doesn't come as any great surprise to me that neither the US nor the UK government has been very competent in setting up and managing public health systems in response. The NHS has done okay because the NHS is completely set up prior to the Tories taking power. And the fact that the Tories used a privatized test and trace system that was completely stillborn, so there basically is no test and trace infrastructure in the UK. I think that tells us therein lies a lesson about why the US has mismanaged things so terribly, because the US doesn't have an NHS. Everything is already privatized, fragmented, and fundamentally broken. And so exactly the same reasons why the UK has failed in its test and trace is why the US has comprehensively failed to respond properly at a public health level. And if the theme here is the continuity of empires or the collapse of empires, then your empire depends on having like a robust, complex bureaucracies and robust institutions that manage the needs of the polity and do so at fairly considerable scale. And so the fact that these things are broken and that these right-wing governments can't rebuild them or set them up quickly in the way that many other countries have done, which has allowed them to manage the pandemic, that tells us something about the trajectory of these countries. And, it suits the interests of the right to cover up their utter failures by kind of covering themselves in a narrative of masculinist empowerment. And you can see the Tories in the UK trying to do that. I think back to all the terrible like Blitz metaphors, right? Like ultra-nationalism and masculinism are like what you can use to cover up or conceal all of your governmental failures.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I'm seeing, if that all makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost, I have to check myself. I agree with what you're saying so much. That's right. Like, yeah, it all makes sense to me, especially where you started off talking about the different information ecosystems that we exist in. Like, I have very limited contact with what I would call Trump supporters, but I have a few friends in America who then have friends, and I, on their Facebook walls, will occasionally engage. And the information that they often don't want to share what they know, right? Because they know it's not a lot. But when you do eke it out of them, it's just so different from what we know. And I absolutely do recognize like that is, it's garbage in, garbage out, is the computer saying. That it doesn't matter how good your code is, but if you put bad information in, you're going to get a bad answer out, or at least a useless answer out, even if it's randomly correct. And people are the same way.
These things that correct, and what are the mechanisms of repair at a social level?
I mean, my expertise is in diagnosing problems, not treating them.
Wait, Karl Marx?
I can't actually grow much of a beard, so I think I have no future as a philosopher. But like obviously the first step to repair in the U.S. is Biden winning the election. And I don't think it almost doesn't bear discussion at this point. What happens if Trump wins another term? I think I have no idea what's going to happen in the UK, but I see, at least in the higher education system, the stirrings of an all-out rebellion as staff are so upset about. So, for context, what's happened in the UK is the universities in the UK are heavily marketized in some of the similar ways that US universities are, and that Canadian universities are sort of sheltered from, although still here. So, like American universities, UK universities depend heavily on tuition revenues and also the rents that they collect from students living in residence halls. And so all of them were incredibly reluctant to say to go fully online. First, because they feared that they would lose out on the rents, which is going to happen no matter what. And second, if some universities went online and other universities offered in-person experiences, those campus experiences, universities in the UK were worried that they would lose all the students to the in-person ones. So I think they were all, universities at the leadership level knew that this was a massive fucking disaster waiting to happen, but they all were just waiting for the government to declare everything had to be online so that they would all, there was like a collective action problem, right? Nobody wanted to be the first to withdraw that in-person teaching, because then, but but the government hasn't. And so they're full steam ahead. University of Bristol has an entire residence hall in quarantine. Thousands in Manchester and Sheffield and Edinburgh and elsewhere are testing positive. Like, it is a catastrophe. I am aware of one colleague at the University of Sheffield who's almost certain that he got the coronavirus in a seminar room, right? So we have at least one fairly clear case of transmission to teaching staff. And so I think that we're approaching the point of widespread labor action. And if these sorts of things begin to happen more and more, if entire industrial sectors just are willing to, at considerable professional risk, refuse to do stuff, that might lead to government changes.
Yeah.
But I think that the degree of dysfunction in the US is so huge that not even that sort of thing really is going to make a difference. I think what will make a difference is like a Biden victory, some healthy court packing after the fact, and just like a huge, I almost think we should be seeing truth and reconciliation, regime change style post-conflict resolution processes taking place in the US, whereas in the UK everything is hopeless but also not quite as bad.
Okay. So what do you mean by that? Do you mean I don't know, what do you mean by that? I guess what would that process involve? The truth and reconciliation.
So, I mean, I think that between police violence and the imprisonment of foreign refugees and their children in concentration camps, there's a lot of recent awareness, because none of this is new, right? Maybe the scale of it is new, but there's a lot of ready awareness of government atrocity, and people are not used. I think most maybe white centrist people are not used to conceiving of the actions of our closest ally, of the U.S. government, as like atrocities. But these are atrocities. They are horrendous human rights abuses, and publicly and collectively bearing witness to their effects, to the effects of these actions, discussing what accountability looks like and pursuing it, and having either the perpetrators themselves, or, since they're probably hopeless people, having the institutions that organize them, having people take responsibility and say, we did this, we apologize, we were wrong, let's so that's what I mean by a truth and reconciliation process.
Yeah, no, I get it. I didn't know, so if it's a reference to something standard, I wasn't sure, so I wanted it spelled out. That sounds, I agree with you. When we talk about America, it feels like this right wing, anti-reality, whatever, the denialist, go straight forward agenda, like that idea has been ingrained into the systems of America so much. We're seeing it so much in its police force. That's really the problem with the police force. It's not about harm reduction. It's about gung-ho, go ahead, fight the bad guys, protect the property of the rich people as well, right? But as opposed to, oh, maybe we should send non-cops out to mental health calls and people without guns who know how to de-escalate these situations, right? So yeah, I get it. It's, you got to fix that system, and I think admitting that there's a problem is absolutely that first step, and I hope they do.
So this has been brought up in the chat, and I think there's an important context here,
Yeah.
which is the anti-intellectualism of the U.S. right.
Mm-hmm.
And what I think has happened is that as the U.S. right confronts expert authorities that say things that are inconsistent with the assumptions and aspirations of right-wing political programs,
Mm-hmm.
rather than try to adjust those programs to that information, right-wing figures and movements have instead just denied the epistemic authority of experts.
Right.
So, for example, as scientists, say certain things about climate change or about infectious diseases, for example, like these imply the need for significant revisions in the narratives and aspirations of right-wing politicians.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you deny that these things are true and you say, actually, the experts are not really telling us truth. This is merely propaganda from the left.
Mm-hmm.
But once you lose any sort of nonpartisan or common source of expert information or truth, you no longer have any basis for confronting your views with something that's not already part of your views, right?
Mm-hmm.
You lose any reality against which to measure your claims or your beliefs. And that's where conspiracy theorism and like these sort of deranged and dismissive gestures come from. That's what I think is happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it feels like that's the same thing as what you're talking about, where the right does not want to fix an institution. Instead, they want to sweep it aside and just keep going. It's the same thing with their own beliefs. Oh, if our beliefs don't working, or if the reality doesn't align with our beliefs, we'll sweep them to the side and just keep going. We're not going to fix our beliefs to align with reality. We're going to push reality aside and just keep doing what we're doing. And it all ties into the...
Let me in here.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Rob. Go ahead.
You could fucking interrupt this bromance. I'm also wondering, on the collapse side of things, I'm starting to see, and it could just be some selection bias in terms of the information that I'm being presented with, more and more small conflagrations of violence, violence at polling stations,
Mm-hmm.
violence at protests between basically right and left, whatever the topic of the day is. I just saw another video today, and I think the person who tweeted it said, "This looks like a dress rehearsal to me," and it's just this very large right-wing man just violently beating his way through a crowd of women, and just stunning to watch that this is happening, and no cops in sight, no. Almost accepted as, well, this is just a thing that happens now.
So the absence of
fighting
police,
in the streets.
The absence of visible police is not because the police aren't there. It's because the police stand aside. And this is probably the main reason why I'm really scared by these videos, is because one of the sort of fundamental markers to me of fascism is when the paramilitaries start to join with the state. And I plan on actually writing something about this with a colleague of mine at American University, Lucas Dolan, because this is what we're starting to see happen, and that's a bad sign. And so the camaraderie or deference that you see from police and the right-wing sort of fighting groups and militant groups is the most concerning direction, I think, of the recent sort of videos and trends that you're speaking of, Rob.
I'm also seeing lots and lots of leftist Twitter saying, "Well, I guess it's time to buy a gun." So that's a whole other thing. Um, and in America, where I think there's something like 300 million firearms in circulation privately, wow, th- there's an opportunity in America to kind of explode in ways that other countries just really can't necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see nearly as much potential for armed violence on the left. And this is because, in terms of movements and organization and also guiding ideology, the infrastructure is either not there or it's very new. Which isn't to say that people on the left won't engage in violence, and we already have some high profile cases of this. It's just that the the organizational and material infrastructure for widespread paramilitary violence is long-standing on the right and has been expanding steadily year by year ever since Obama. And that I am not able to say the same about the left based on what I know of it.
Is this how empires die? Do they always die like this? With this just this some final threat, some final challenge that leads to a kind of a narcissistic self-immolation rather than just confronting reality and accepting a de-escalated role in the world?
No,
Maybe you're not a
it might
historian
be
of empire.
it might be how this empire dies. I'm not an historian of empire, and also I just generally have an aversion to categorical claims about history. I don't trade in them. But if you think about what an empire is and what an empire does, and what needs to be the case for it to keep being and doing those things, I think it's bad news for people who would like to see the American empire persist.
It's this feels like a mortal wound at the very least. Like just even the opinion of the rest of the world of America. So much of the rest of the world who bought into a lot of the America's the greatest country in the world. I hope I can go there someday, and are now just seeing it as an incompetently run cesspit. And there's the white nationalism is bubbling up, so that the stories are coming out across its borders, and people are learning more and more about the hate that's over there in America. And not that it's not here in frickin' Canada either. I don't want to just point fingers there. Let's admit that we've got a problem here as well rising up. This is what the whole world's changed so much in the past 4 years. Like COVID being just this giant like exclamation point on it, but always in motion is the future, says Yoda. I mean, maybe all this bullshit happens, and then kapow, the comet hits. And then we have to deal with that. And we're all like, remember when we thought COVID was the problem instead of 1,200 foot tall tidal waves constantly circling the Earth? How naive we were.
Indeed. So, the science. Do we want to cap this off with the? I mean, at least we've got some good video. Did you want to show the Regeneron video? Do you have that?
I do. I have it ready.
Oh yeah.
We'll show the Regeneron video. I'm gonna preface this by saying I'm not a huge fan of the Lincoln Project because they have their agenda. They're kind of an enemy of my enemy type organization to me, and I worry about people becoming too buddy with them. Where am I? There it is.
This is good, people.
Guys, I'm actually gonna take off already because
Okay.
I'm revising a piece of writing and it's so bad, like I don't know what I was doing when I wrote it, but it needs to be done.
Sure.
So thank you so much for having me on, and
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm just always like bad news buddy here.
It's what this show
yeah.
is.
So goodbye chaps, and goodbye Twitch feed.
Thank you, Simon. Thanks so much. Okay, let's get this up. So the Lincoln Project, for those who aren't aware, is a right-wing organization that is firmly anti-Trump, is encouraging Republicans to vote Biden this year, which I'm absolutely behind. But another part of their agenda that I think constantly needs to be pointed out is they also want to make the Democratic Party shift over to the right where they want to be. They're perfectly happy with Trump's Supreme Court picks, etc. They just aren't fans of fascism. So good. Let's be friends with them now, but later on. Yeah. But this is pretty funny. Why is it? Oh, I know why it's not playing. Sorry, people were messaging me and I had to mute my browser. Let's unmute my browser. There we go. Here we go.
Hi, perhaps you recognize me. It's your favorite president. I got back a day ago from Walter Reed Medical Center. I went in, I wasn't feeling so hot, and within a very short period of time, they gave me Regeneron. A short 24 hours later, I was feeling great, and that's what I want for everybody. If you're in the hospital and you're feeling really bad, Regeneron. We have hundreds of thousands of doses that are just about ready. You're going to get better. You're going to get better really fast. Regeneron. Because I feel great. I feel like perfect. I want to get for you what I got. Regeneron. And you'll see some amazing things happen. You're going to get better. You're going to get better fast, just like I did. Hi, perhaps you recognize...
So a few things to say about that.
Yeah, please.
I noticed that he was really shilling Regeneron hard, and just on a whim, I decided to Google Trump Regeneron CEO golf, and immediately found out that
Ding,
the
ding, ding.
CEO of Regeneron is a golf buddy of Trump's, and in fact is a member of Trump's Bedminster Golf Course. And then found out that Trump personally and through some of his business entities has large stakes invested into the company that makes Regeneron. I guess not entirely surprising there. Anytime something weird comes up, my new go-to is Google. Anytime there's a relationship between Trump and some new strange company or some new entity, I just Google Trump X CEO golf, and many of my mysteries are immediately cleared up. Right now, the U.S. is getting over 50,000 cases a day. There are currently, with best possible production efforts, 50,000 doses of Regeneron available. We don't know what the final retail price is going to be. I've seen estimates ranging from $100,000 to $1.5 million. $1.5 million. And we don't know what that's going to be. So that could get mopped up in 24 hours of just new cases.
In that video,
and it's gone.
In that video, Trump almost said, "I feel like $1 million," and he stopped himself, and I totally saw it, and I know he did it because he didn't want to mention how expensive the thing was.
Wow.
He said,
I missed that.
He said, I feel great. Like he stopped himself from saying, "I feel like $1 million." Yeah,
that's interesting. And then there was this video that he made. That commercial was made out of a larger video where he was talking to seniors and saying that his plan was almost like to put this stuff in the mail free and send it out to seniors all across America. Because right now, Trump is way behind in the seniors vote, and usually, like, if there's one thing Republican presidents can count on, it's the white senior vote. But it turns out that let them die for the economy has not been a popular message in the over 65 crowd. Imagine that. And so Trump is trailing in seniors 60-40. And
wow.
There are even so like there's this retirement community in Florida called the Villages, which every once in a while CNN flocks down to because it's this kind of interesting ideological war of all these people riding their electric carts.
Oh yes, I remember them. And
yeah. Well, things have changed, right? So the last time there was this big pro-Republican cart ride, and now it's all a Republicans for Biden cart ride. The last time.
Oh, good.
And
for
so
them.
his support. Yeah, so his support among seniors has collapsed.
Good.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
We mentioned this before, like how, this whole thing, how not seriously he's been taking COVID, how he's been saying it's not a big deal, it doesn't really hurt that many people, but it literally hurts the people who vote for Republicans and the Trump the most. Like those those poor older people are going to get this and die. They're the much more likely to die from this. And I can just imagine all of them sitting there week after week going, but I have friends who've died of this. It's been at that other retirement community in my town, and 12 people died there.
And the by the numbers graph that you showed at the beginning, a lot of those states are traditionally like red states.
Yeah.
So they're getting absolutely hammered in the last 3 weeks of the election campaign.
Well, again, reality doesn't give a shit what your fucking political ideology is or what your belief about masks is. If you're going to live in a culture that is firmly anti-mask, you're going to have a giant explosion of this disease through your population. So, like, being a Republican is hazardous for your health. Let's get on with this. What else do we want to do, Rob? I'm so upset.
Surprised to hear this, folks. A new study on hydroxychloroquine. Haven't heard that name in a while.
Yeah.
In at least a week. Came out. Still bullshit.
Still bullshit.
This study, I mean, I don't even want to bother unpacking the particular details, but like every single angle this drug has been studied from. Complete hogwash. And it's absolutely amazing how much effort and money and person years of effort have been absolutely flushed down the drain irrecoverably forever because somehow this drug just stuck in the mind of Donald J. Trump.
Probably because of, again, golf.
Yeah. Probably a golf buddy said, hey, have you tried the hydroxychloroquine yet? Because there's no money to be made really off of hydroxychloroquine because it's widely available. It's got a lot of manufacturers. Although America always finds ways to make money off of off-patent drugs. So you can bet there was probably a lot of machination and maneuvering to corner the hydroxychloroquine market. It was just such a goddamn bust.
I'm almost certain that we mentioned a literal guy's name who golfed with Trump, who mentioned
that's right.
A pharmaceutical CEO.
Billy Pizza, or
it was something
Pizza.
Weird like that. Yeah,
his last name was Pizza, and like the and he's a member of the Florida whatever. He's got these clubs everywhere. So hydroxychloroquine still BS. Sorry,
BS.
Mr. Pizza, you're not gonna make a fortune off hydroxychloroquine.
And I think this has already blipped up and been gone, but we should mention it. That Great Barrington Declaration is bullshit. Like for a while, like the right wing was like, look at all these scientists who've agreed with us. And then now it's been pointed out, look, you can just fill out the form and pretend to be a Harvard educated and sign it.
My favorite was Dr. Joey Bananas.
Joey Bananas.
Joey Bananas. Harvard professor, medicine.
Yeah.
Who was unavailable for comment as we went to air. What else is happening?
Well, there's racist death threats because of Twitter. I'll just post a link to the.
Now that Trump is really leaning hard into China virus. Surprise, surprise. Death threats against South Asians are on the rise. Yeah, and we're starting to see that even in Canada, also in Canada, this is happening. And there was just a couple of stories. I'm not seeing them immediately, but I mean, they're pretty easy to find. Anti-Asian racism in relation to COVID. Why don't you go back where you're born? People who are like born in Toronto.
He held the door for, he put on his mask, walked up to the doors. A white man held it open for us, and I thanked him. As I passed, he told me how being forced to wear a mask, he wasn't wearing one, makes him, quote, want to kill Asians. That's what the guy said. He held the door for him and then said, being forced to wear a mask makes me want to kill Asians. I told him that was an unkind thing to say. He told me, yeah, but war is war, and then repeated his wish to kill Asians.
War is war. And we're only 80 years away from Japanese internment, right, in Canada and the U.S.
Yeah.
So it happened before. It could happen again.
Stop it, white people.
Oh, this.
Spin
Okay,
coat?
look, folks. Don't go to spin class. I'll say that again, because I know this might be blowing your minds right now. But don't go and ride your stationary bike in a closed box with 30 of your closest friends for an hour, even if the music's great. Otherwise, you could be at the center of
Yeah.
the next outbreak, like Spinco in Hamilton, Ontario. And how many cases are connected with the Spinco outbreak now?
More than 20 cases. However, they're still tracking it. Potentially 100 members have been exposed to the virus.
100 members exposed.
It feels
Yeah.
like to me, it feels, and again, not a medical expert or virologist or anything, but it feels like to me, if you were in a room doing the Spinco thing for an hour, closed room, and one of the people in that room had COVID,
Yeah.
I would say pretty much everybody in that room is going to. All you're doing is breathing out and breathing in each other's air constantly for an hour, and so it feels like
Really breathing.
the
Bike, you're gasping.
right where I feel like with a lot of contacts, the roll of the dice involves how much you're going to get exposed, how close you're going to get to them, etc., etc. I feel like the only roll of dice when it comes to a spin class is there anybody there with COVID? That's it. And if there is, you're going to get infected, and if there isn't, hooray, you're freaking lucky.
Yeah.
Right? Does that
Part is no doubt. Yeah. And they probably, helpfully have fans there to cool everybody down. And the fans are quite happy to blow all the droplet air around in the room to make sure everyone gets a little bit of it.
Yeah.
Unless you actually have really, really good ventilation for something like that, where people are breathing hard, they're breathing a lot. This is sort of on the same level as choir outbreaks that we were at. You don't see as much of it, but wow. Okay, so can they do the spin class outdoors? You know what? They probably could do the spin class outdoors.
Yeah.
If you're outside and you had enough separation, that would probably, especially if there's a breeze blowing and just diluting droplets, that's probably fine.
It's you close that room up. Yeah. Like
Stay away from the gym. Gyms and nightclubs. These are the places where young people are getting exposed to the virus.
think of it this way. Think of it as though instead of exhaling droplets, they're all in a room smoking together, right? Like this is like the old fucking nightclubs we used to have to go to, Rob, where like how bad is it to be outside with a bunch of people smoking? It's kind of bad. But how bad is it to be in a room with 20 or 30 people all smoking for an hour? Like
that's real bad.
That's,
I remember that. I remember those days.
That is can't see to the other side of the room bad. And I remember those where nightclubs were smoky for a reason because people were smoking.
Yeah, I spent a lot of nights in my 20s in blue rooms.
Yep.
Blue because of the cigarette smoke.
It used to be, I used to have to come home from going out to nightclubs and stuff because you're a young person, you go to these things. And I would have to have a shower before I'd go to bed because you just be covered in the just that tar nicotine stuff. It would get in my hair and make my scalp all itchy. If I would wake up the next day, if I didn't have a shower, it'd be bad. So like
all the clothes had to go into the wash. Yeah.
You had to and keep it out of your room or your room would smell like cigarettes the next day. Like
it's been a pretty good 20 years since they kind of got a grip on.
So glad we got rid of that. Okay, sorry, we're segueing.
So Cyndaquil, Joe doesn't like smoking. So Cyndaquil says most spin studios are in really urban areas, though. If you remember way back to one of our early episodes, we had a fitness trainer on who is doing online classes. Those are still going. Fitness Science.
Yeah.
We don't make any money off that. It's an endorsement. I attend that gym. I've been a happy customer of theirs for like 10 years. And so we had the owner on. And so if you need to stay fit, and you should all stay fit for all sorts of reasons, look up Fitness Science. And they'll probably, and you tell them we sent you, and they'll give you a free month. Or at least a free couple of weeks. And even if once they start billing you, it's like $56 a month, and you can drop in to class like up to 15 times a week. There's no limit on the number of classes. Nice. There's no spin, I'm afraid, but it's all home-based body weight exercise or minimum weight. I literally do it in this room on these pads on the ground there. So, get in shape, kids. Good for you.
I love this title. Megachurch pastor contracts COVID-19 after suing to force school reopenings. And here's the article, everybody, so you can go look at the details. We're just going to point and laugh, I think, because this has been a pretty full show so far.
This is maybe the most compelling argument for the existence of God that I've ever seen.
Well, it's more of a compelling argument for the existence of scientific theory being correct about how diseases spread.
Yeah. God exists and God has a sense of humor.
Yeah. Well. So we've got some science to talk about this week. We'll go over them very briefly. One, we mentioned early on in the show there was a story about it seemed like blood type A might be more susceptible to COVID-19 infection. It turns out there is no relationship between blood type and COVID infectiousness. Hooray for me, blood type A.
So all you type A's out there, you can relax again to a normal level of neurotic COVID obsession.
So you
don't have to have that elevated level.
We're up here. You only need to be down. Just come down a little.
Yeah.
This is you're not here because COVID. It's still here, but
yeah. So the early studies showing the signal have been non-replicated, and now we're not thinking there's any relationship between blood types and coronavirus.
Mm-hmm. And another note, this is kind of numbers. Nearly 1/3 of people hospitalized with COVID-19 have experienced some type of altered mental function, ranging from confusion to delirium to unresponsiveness, according to the largest U.S. study to date of neurosymptoms associated with the coronavirus. So this is of people who've had to be hospitalized, so people who got it seriously. Although it might be hard to test the people who were like, I don't need to be hospitalized, I'll stay home, and how many of them had brain fog and altered mental states. Like, it's not that none of them, it's probably not 1/3, but it was still probably not 0 as well. So 1/3 of the people hospitalized.
Well, yeah. I mean, we also know there was that 10-week study, which is still ongoing, with 50% of people still reporting problems with fatigue after they were testing negative for the virus, even individuals with asymptomatic or mild cases.
Mm-hmm.
So, this thing, it takes a pounding out of you. It takes a pounding out of you on a number of fronts. If it's hitting 1/3 of hospitalized cases are ending up with some kind of issue, it stands to reason that a lot of the people not in the hospital are also getting it, perhaps in subtler forms that are harder to notice, or perhaps, I don't know. It's all part of the long COVID or chronic COVID spectrum that we're hearing about more and more.
And then moving on to disinformation, then denialist, we've got Dr. Conley is a bullshitter. So this is a tweet that's got a letter from Trump's doctor here. Rob, do you want to go over what this is?
So Dr. Sean Connery, not to be confused with Sean Connery, the former James Bond, 70. This guy, lieutenant commander or lieutenant commander in the United States Navy, is Trump's personal physician. And it's been noticed increasingly that when it comes to information that he's supplying, he's trying to have it both ways. He's wanting to sort of try and protect the privacy of his patient, but also release information. But it's been discovered again and again and again that the information he's releasing actually is false. And when he's confronted about that, he'll say, well, we're just trying to reflect the upbeat attitude of the team. So when he was confronted about, has Trump ever been on oxygen? This was the first day he was in the hospital. Well, he's not on oxygen right now. Okay, but has he ever been on oxygen? He's not on oxygen right now. Okay, well, has he ever been on oxygen? He wasn't on oxygen yesterday or today. Then it comes out, well, he was actually on oxygen at the White House. Okay, well, why did you tell us that he wasn't? Well, we just want to reflect the upbeat attitude of the team. Or when they said that his chest imaging showed expected findings. We talked a bit about this last week. Expected findings, meaning what? You actually saw normal chest anatomy? Or
yep, those are lungs.
Expected findings for the coronavirus? Like what? And And again, just kind of weaseling around. There's a couple different ways you can play this. If you're a doctor, you can say, okay, look, if I'm just gonna don't derail me here, Joe.
Okay, go ahead.
You can sort of draw a hard line and say, okay, look, I'm not going to talk about any of the particulars related to the president. I'll tell you at this point, it's my opinion that he is medically able to carry out the duties of the president of the United States. Okay, because the public needs to know if their president is capable of carrying out the duties that he was elected to perform. And if not, you can say, at this point, my opinion is that the president is not capable of carrying out the duties that he was elected to perform. I've already informed cabinet and the vice president. Power transition away, right? And you can just kind of leave it at that. But what you can't do, or what you shouldn't do, unless you want to permanently burn your dignity and professional reputation, is just do these dumb little weasel lies that you kind of cast out and then pull it back. Cast it out and pull it back, right? I backwards. I don't fish. So that's sort of all I got to say about that. And he just keeps on doing it. So there's this weasel letter about his coronavirus status today. That if you actually examine it closely, it's like trying to get a hold of fog. Any specific claim in that letter just disappears as soon as you probe it. And what we don't know, okay, is your corona is his test positive or negative? And when was his last negative test? The question you refuse to answer, which would answer so many questions about where this outbreak is right now and how far it's just spiraling out, giving people the opportunity to do some contact tracing, which should be real nice.
Expected findings, Rob. That's what I call this image.
Oh, expected findings. Ah, yeah. He's got a big heart. The doctors call it enlarged.
3 sizes too small.
3 sizes.
We have fun on this show, don't we? Yeah, it's
We do.
What a tornado of bullshit. It basically is.
So he does get our honorable mention for Denialist of the Week,
yeah.
Because essentially he's been just so shitty in terms of the way he's presenting information and playing into the whole narrative of Trump being a champion virus beater, and indirectly playing into the narrative that this just isn't a big deal.
Yep. Yeah. Another mention goes out to the GOP county chair in Arkansas who died from COVID-19. His committee hosted a maskless gathering last month. Let me just again.
Yeah.
We'll just mention. We're not going to point and laugh at people who die, but you get a mention in Denialist of the Week.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, since Herman Cain, as long as Herman Cain keeps tweeting from beyond the grave, we will keep bringing the dead into Denialist of the Week.
Yeah.
When they stop, we'll stop. But so far, they've shown no appetite for slowing down.
But,
Tweeting earlier today, in fact. But you only get to win it once, Herman.
Yeah, but the Denialist of the Week is going to go out to this giant crybaby.
So far, unnamed.
Here we go. I don't know her name. Do we know her name? Should we give her name?
I don't know her name.
I don't know.
So I just wanted to share some of my experience with you, what it's been like being an unmasked individual in Johnson County this summer.
An unmasked individual.
I could say a lot about my time in Johnson County this summer not wearing a mask, which is my choice as a free individual. But I'll boil it down to one point, which is discrimination. It has nothing to do with a virus, and it has everything to do with how we treat one another. I am discriminated against every single day in my county now, sometimes multiple times a day. I'm told, stand back. Stand back. You don't care about other people. You can't come in here. Ma'am, excuse me, ma'am. You have to wear a mask.
It's funny how she's
That's
remembered
one.
all the words but not listened to them.
Leave.
So close.
Right? It's not
I'm
about a
treated-
virus.
We are treated worse than second-class citizens. We're treated like we're not even human, let alone someone's fellow American.
Wait. We are treated worse than second-class citizens, which that just really feels like, listen, there are people we treat lesser, but don't you dare treat me lesser than them. Right? Doesn't it? Right? Doesn't that hurt her going, oh my God, I'm being treated worse than black people who are second-class citizens? Fuck.
Yeah.
I'll just tell you an example yesterday, and I have examples from pretty much every day, but yesterday I went to mail a package at my local FedEx Kinko's, walk in, set the package down on the counter, politely ask for a scan and a receipt. Stand back. Get back. Right there. Move. Stand back. Move back. Purple dot on the ground. Stand on the purple dot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I did.
Yeah.
Scanned the package and the receipt. Didn't put the receipt on the same counter that I put the package on, but put it over to the side. So I had to walk around
Oh my
the
God.
counter as to avoid him as he
Oh my
retreated
God.
from his register as I approached,
You had to walk?
like I'm some sort of diseased leper.
How many steps? How many steps did
And
you
this
have
is
to walk?
this is our community now. This is the division that has been created by
Tell
you
me
guys
how many
allowing these.
steps. Tell me how many steps you had to walk. Tell me how many steps, you poor, beset upon third-class citizen.
Wow.
They treat me worse than second-class citizens who are totally legitimately second-class.
That was some serious lumpy space princess stuff. That was beyond Karen.
Yeah,
We're
Karen.
We're into lumpy space now, man.
So congratulations. I had to walk. I had to walk a few steps, anti-masker. Oh my God. I wonder if
He made me stand on the dot, and he put my receipt over there.
And I had to walk and get it. Thankfully, I teleported to here to complain about it. Totally did not walk way further and drive and pay for the gas to get here and spend all of that time to complain about it. Totally. It was not more. It was less. I just blinked and I'm here.
Yeah, LSP. Yeah, you know me.
I like LSP. We got some good stuff. So COVAX, can mention this briefly. You can tell us what it is. This is a bunch of countries have decided to get together to work on not just vaccines together, but also like getting them out to everybody and agreeing on how we're distributing them. That's what's going on.
Yeah, 170 countries and economies representing more than 90% of the world population joined forces in the COVAX facility. This mechanism stands for Safe Development and Equitable and Smart Prioritization of Eventual Coronavirus Vaccines. And that's a tweet from Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, who is the director of the World Health Organization.
Mm-hmm.
So
posted the.
Oh, you already got that in there. All right.
Posted the WHO link. Yeah.
Nice. And here's the tweet from Dr. Ted.
So this is some good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, like legit good. So this is happening, and I'm assuming that after a Biden victory, you know, after January 20th, America too will be welcome to join COVAX in a global effort to share information, technology, and vaccine distribution.
Yeah, 100%. Wouldn't that be great if
available?
Yeah, I hope that happens. And also on the vaccine front, both Fauci and the same WHO boss have declared there will probably be a vaccine ready by December, maybe November. So
there's a nice short video here, about 20 seconds of Fauci talking about the.
Okay.
If you're able to cue that up, that's
I can do.
Always nice. It's always nice to hear from Dr. F. The real deal.
Nope.
Still doing the job.
There we go.
By the time we get to November or December, maybe earlier. I don't think it's going to be earlier, but it's still possible it would be earlier. But I think comfortably around November or December, we'll know whether or not the vaccine is safe and effective. I actually am cautiously optimistic from what I've seen about preliminary data in phase 1 that there's a very good chance we'll have a safe and effective vaccine. By the time we get to November or December, maybe earlier.
sounding better since he had his vocal cord surgery.
Yeah. Good for him.
I used to just sound like this all the time.
So his voice is comforting, isn't it? Right? That accent makes me feel like I'm hanging out with family. So he's been pretty consistently calling for a vaccine by the end of the year, and now he's getting quite specific in the November-December timeline. Probably not earlier. This is fantastic news, especially if that pans out, right? And then there's a new administration, and America could win a lot of goodwill by ramping up the manufacture and distribution of that vaccine to the world. And I'm sure the vaccine creator wouldn't mind ending up obscenely wealthy as a result of that. I wouldn't even mind if they ended up obscenely wealthy, as long as there's a needle in my arm sometime in the new year. But the good news is we're making it. The finish line to a vaccine, it's in sight. I mean, we're already on October the 11th. He's talking about November, December. This is just like, when you look at it from the perspective of March, and we didn't know what we didn't know.
We are going to need to. There's going to need to be so many good hugs in the world, like, to make up for all this time apart. Like, we need to work out rules about who's. We're gonna have to wear those stickers that you sometimes wear at cons, whether or not you're like, you may hug me, ask if you can hug, I don't like hugging, right? Like, we totally need those stickers now, because like, I want to fucking hug everybody I know when I see them. Like,
yeah. And T-shirts. I got the vax.
Yeah, I got the vax. Ask me for hugs. Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna have free hugs everywhere.
Body by Pfizer.
Yeah. Do you want to end with these videos that you haven't seen yet, Rob? Because they're fun.
Sure, it's 8:30. We're on the long side, but if folks are happy to stick with us a little bit, we can.
They're about 3 to 4 minutes each, so we're looking at 10 minutes, 15 with commentary. So let's. I've got it ready to go here. So let's do this. So these are videos. These are some videos by Julie Nolke, who is she does YouTube videos and is a comedian and stuff like that. Rob has not. I'm sharing the wrong thing. Let me click the right button. There we go. Let's get this full screen. Rob hasn't seen these. I have. They're fantastic. You'll get what these are pretty much right away.
Whoa. Who are you?
I'm Julie from 4 Months in the Future.
Actually? Are you here to tell me what's going to happen?
Yeah. I mean, because of the butterfly effect, I can only really give you some loose details, but we'll go through the basics. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So, do you want the good news or the bad news?
Oh, good news?
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Great choice. Yeah. Cool. So, things have never been better for climate change.
No, that's great.
Dolphins in the Venice canals.
Really?
I know. Well, I mean, I saw it on Facebook. I don't know if it's a real thing. My aunt posted it, but it's pretty legit.
Okay, well, that's incredible. You know, especially given the Australian wildfires.
The what? Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, those are pretty, like, I think those are going to be the defining feature of 2020.
Yeah, you'd think.
Oh, no?
Not even a little bit.
Really? Wait, because they're a pretty big deal.
Yeah, your definition of a pretty big deal is going to change, for sure.
Wow. Okay, so what is the bad news then?
You are going to want to pull all your investments.
What?
Yeah, get everything out of the stock market. Get it all out.
Oh, it's a recession.
You know what? Put a little money in Zoom.
Isn't that a conferencing app?
Yes, trust me.
Okay. While we're being proactive here, actually, if you could just do a Costco run real quick.
That's going to save you a lot of hassle.
Costco. Do you have any hobbies? You know, just something to keep you busy? No, not really. You should get a dog. I want a dog. You know I want a dog. They're a lot of work, and you've got to walk. You got to go outside with them twice a day.
Right. The walks are going to be clutch.
Right, but I mean, I have to leave them because I have so much travel coming up.
Oh, no, you don't.
But yeah, I travel for work.
Oh, you won't be working.
But how do I afford stuff?
Do you take vitamins or juice?
No.
Okay, it might be a good time to just, get that body in tip-top shape. Get strong. Get those lungs a pumping. You know, cardio, little aerobics.
What the hell is gonna happen?
Look, I know it all sounds scary, but it's really not that bad. You know, for you, right? I mean, for some people, it's not, but for you, it's really not bad. I would, you know, would you rather be in a busy shopping mall or at home on the couch watching Netflix?
Couch?
Exactly. You're gonna be just fine.
Okay.
So,
What do you know about the world of big cats?
so she made that in April, and then did this follow up.
Oh, hey, who are you? I'm Julie from June.
Oh, crazy. I just got finished explaining how nuts everything is going to be to the Julie in January.
That's nice.
So crazy for her, eh? Gosh, that was fun. The look on her face. Wasn't that so fun when I went back in time? Oh, she's headed for a wild ride. Why does your face look like that? Why do you look like that?
So do you want the good news or the bad news?
No. What? Come on. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I'm just trying to think of where you're at. April. You're quarantined.
Yeah. I'm in isolation, which hasn't been that bad.
Have you hit the bread making phase?
Yeah, I'd say so. I have my own sourdough starter.
Ugh, you and everyone else.
Okay. It's pretty crazy about the whole coronavirus, eh?
Is what?
The pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
Is that not top of mind?
Have you hit the murder hornets yet?
Murder hornets? That's not a real thing. Murder hornets? Murder hornets! Wow, really? Oh, okay.
Sit down.
Wow, we're fucking doing murder hornets. Nope, not me.
Sit down. Are people injecting Lysol?
Look, let's just do some good news. You know, I could really use some good news. Oh, she wants good news. Okay, yeah, sure. We'll do the good news here. Verdict's in on the masks. Turns out, wear them.
Well, that's great because, you know, there's been some mixed messaging.
2 astronauts went to the space station.
That's exciting.
Yeah, lucky fucks.
Okay.
Oh, Betty White was trending.
No.
Turns out she's perfectly fine.
Oh, thank God.
Oh, that's it.
That's it? What? But people must be coming together and staying united?
People have been protesting the quarantine with assault rifles.
What? Yeah, I think it's this like 5G thing. I really don't understand that.
That's ridiculous. Shouldn't the police be involved with that? You know, don't they have a responsibility to protect and serve the health and well-being of every single citizen? Why are you doing that with your hand?
Oh, I wouldn't.
I wouldn't. How bad does it get?
Shit hits the fan. But if I'm being honest, it's always been bad. It just hits a boiling point.
You can't tell me what happens?
No.
But a lot happens.
A lot.
So what do I do?
Well, it gets pretty grim and infuriating and feels overwhelming. If I'm here to give you advice, it would be to say you, we, us are a person of privilege, and it's part of our job to use our voice. That's a responsibility we have. You don't have to wait for a crisis to step up. We can't change the past, but we can certainly help make the future better.
Okay. Oh, it's just a Twitter headline. Monkey steals COVID blood samples in a Planet of the Apes style heist and cannibal rats in New York. Oh, nothing surprises me anymore. What the
And then, wait, there is a part 3, Rob.
Oh, baby.
Oh.
June. We were so young and naive in June.
No, I thought.
Wow,
I
we're
thought
smoking
we were done
now.
with this whole thing. Okay, so whenabouts are you from?
October.
Wow. Oh, great. October. Amazing. So soon. There's so much year left.
Look, I don't want to be here any more than you want me here, so can we just do this?
Yeah. Okay, let's get it over with, nice and quick.
Good news or bad news?
Who fucking cares? I don't know. Bad news. Do it. Let's get it over with. We'll end on an up note. Honestly, there's nothing you can say. Things are so bad right now. I'm certain that they only get better.
Whereabouts you at?
The protests for racial injustice about George
Jacob
Floyd.
Blake.
What did you say?
Did
Did you say something different?
I said George Floyd.
Are things not
I
better?
said George Floyd.
Because I mean, presumably things are better, you know, because I posted a black square, so. Yeah, that was dumb what I just said.
Look, no, there's some things that are better. I mean, the NBA players are being a lot more active in Black Lives Matter, which I think is making a difference.
Oh, that's great.
yeah, I guess.
I mean, I love that. Those are some proud boys there.
Ooh, let's not call them that.
Why?
You know what? Actually, let's rewind. Yeah, maybe just right now, just for safety, let's just say you're not a supporter of Proud Boys.
Why would I say that?
Just say it. It's easy. I denounce the Proud Boys.
I don't want to say it.
Yeah, say it. It's easier. It's better. It's better.
I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to. I don't want to say it.
Just
I don't
say
know
it.
what this is about, and
Just
I'm not going to say
say
it.
it. You okay over there?
Yep. Yeah, I've got this new thing I like to do. Just calm down my anxiety. It's a mantra I have. It's relax, breathe, ground.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, or I'm RBG for short.
Oh shit. Okay, let's skip that one.
What?
Yeah, I don't think this is a good idea.
It's fine. No, this is fine. I can handle it. I mean, you're here, so I can obviously handle it. What are you gonna tell me next? Those guys on fire?
Well,
Holy shit.
yeah, it's not on fire. Well, it's not. No. It's not on fire. It's just orange, which is interesting because I guess the forest fires have come full circle this year. You know, with Australia and then now California. It's kind of funny.
How's it? No, it's not. That's not funny.
No, it's not. I'm not laughing at. It's not funny. I'm not laughing at. I'm just saying it's like ironic. It's funny and ironic.
They're not funny, haha.
What is next? A city explodes?
Too soon, man.
What?
Oh, no, never mind.
No. There was an explosion.
Oh, that reminds me. Don't go to any gender reveal parties.
That doesn't make any sense.
It will.
Oh. Is there any good news?
Well, I mean, our last couple pandemic videos have done pretty well.
Okay. Only thinking about yourself, really?
No, I'm not. It's a hard year. You've got to take the wins when you can.
I guess. So, did we make any money, or?
Yeah, a little bit. And thankfully, I didn't blow it on anything stupid.
Dumb. This is so dumb.
Oh, that reminds me. Someone has COVID.
Who? Me? My mom?
No.
My dad.
No, it's someone higher up. Can't tell you. I'm not supposed to say the name because, you know, the space-time continuum and all those rules of time travel that we're following so accurately.
Trump?
You didn't hear it from me.
Oh, that's the least surprising thing you've said.
That's true.
Well, at least he has to self-isolate for 14 days so you can get a bit of a break, you know? It's not going to be around a bunch of people, which is good.
Do you want to try this?
Oh, no. Thank you. I'm good. I've got RBG.
No, you don't.
What? What?
Oh, next time you're out, you're going to want to pick up some toilet paper also.
Again?
Again. Yeah.
So much of that stuff I had forgotten. Like, what a time capsule those videos are into, again, the tornado of bullshit this year has been.
Shit. The so far unused secret title to every single one of our
Yeah.
episodes.
Yeah. Yeah, right, Beirut. Because when she did, that was exactly the one that I messed up. Like a few of them, I was like, oh yeah, murder hornets. Oh yeah, the Australian wildfires at the beginning of the year. Right? Oh yeah, God. And then a city exploded, and I literally went, a city exploded, and I went, wow. Oh, Beirut, Jesus, and like. Giant explosion, people dead all over. We just had to move on because, again, tornado bullshit. But at least there's some good art, which is that series of videos. Let's see. No, that's not it. Hold on. I will get the link.
Give him the link.
I will get the link. Where'd you go? Damn it. Let me back up. There we go.
You nuked it, didn't you?
No, I
Oh,
didn't.
whoa.
There it is.
Who are you?
Chrome has undo. Control
Among
Shift.
Us, yeah, Cyndaquil mentions the one of the best developments recently is everyone rediscovering or discovering Among Us.
Among Us, yeah.
That's a pretty solid game.
It is super fun, and the thing I really like about it is it's getting people who aren't really online gamers to come in and play games with those of us who are, and like to enjoy this fun little casual social game. And I think that's going to make more companies make that type of game, and that's good. That is a game type that we need more of in this world.
Extra doses of paranoia Friday.
Yeah. I mean, at least it's an alien imposter instead of who's infected. Like, I can't go into that room. He's not wearing a mask. Somebody's gonna make that COVID Among Us game.
We haven't pulled Pandemic shelf at all. See it there. It's like.
Sorry, you're breaking up there, Rob. I think your sensor's not working.
Yeah, we've got Pandemic, right? And I haven't pulled that off the shelf. I just see that there, that box, and I'm just like, no way, no, no.
Yeah, 100% agreed. So I guess that's the show. Thanks so much for joining us again, everybody. That's been Viral Transmissions episode number 30. Holy cow.
30, big 30.
30.
Thank you, long haulers, for hanging out with us. I wonder if we're going to need 30 more of these. If so, we'll be here. We'll be doing them. This is the thing you can count on, barring death or disability.
I look forward to the big vaccine party episode, like the one where not just party that hooray, there's a vaccine and here's a date, but the one where both you and I and the people we know are vaccinated and we could just be on the show.
Showing off the Band-Aids.
Like, yeah, just that is the episode I'm looking forward to. Literally the vaccine is in my body episode. That's the one I want.
Can feel the antibodies rising.
Yeah. Give it to me. Give it to me. Okay, thanks everybody. We'll see you all next week, same time. Hopefully it'll be a little shorter episode. Peace.
Spread the word.
Spread the word. Not the virus.